So this is Tablebreakers, and tonight we're going to be short a couple of our friends, but myself, I'm here. Above me is Jaide, Shadow and Sun on the top right, and my friend Baron G-Rock. Tonight's discussion is going to be something that we deal with from time to time. Usually we really deal with this more often when we have either a TPK and people get upset, or when we have a campaign come to a close. And there's a lot of reasons for people to be like, hey, I had the end of the campaign. I don't want to be there for my first level 18-year-old snot-nosed kid, but I don't want to get into that just yet. I want to discuss what happens when you guys have low numbers at your table, and what do you do to amend that? Because I think we've all been there from time to time a little bit. Before I go further, I'm going to ask my panel, Jaide, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Doing fairly well. Working long hours right now, so running about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a day. So
I'm not wanting
hanging in there.
I don't want you to be hurting yourself. Do you understand?
I'm fine.
Okay. Shadow, how have you been?
Pretty damn good. The boy's off on vacation before he goes to Mexico next month. You know, just living the dream, man. Enjoying every minute I can while I can until, you know, can't no more. What's up, lady?
I think Bruce may have muted the microphone again. What about you, Baron? How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right. About all I got.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, about that local sports ball team. I'm just kidding.
So
That's what happened.
Bruce died.
Yeah, Bruce dropped.
All right.
Yep.
So what we're going to be talking about tonight is
and he's back.
I'm sorry about that. We've been fighting. I've had some sad people have tried throwing some errors on my connection. Apparently, it's unstable, even though I'm on wired. I don't know why. I get this whenever on the days I stream. It's like they look at my StreamYard. Well, fuck with his account then. Well, fuck with his Google.
Depending on who you have as an ISP, that might actually be a true thing.
I have Google.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
For example, if I cut out at about 6:30 or roughly within about an hour from now, that happens to me like all the damn time, exactly on that like time slot. So yeah, I know what you mean there, Bruce.
Well, that's when you have to change the hamsters. Take one off and put the other one on.
It's true. I'm also I boomered earlier, and when I say boomer, I mean I fouled up. I did not start the live stream on Rumble yet, so I'm getting.
But it's on your channel, right?
What? Yeah, I'm getting ready to start up on Rumble as well.
Oh no!
I know, right? Okay, tags. America's DM. Oh.
We'll give him a moment to get that rolling here before we actually get into the meat and taters, as we put it. Sure. Well, since we usually do this at the end and there's only 4 of us, why don't we do it at the beginning to give Bruce some time?
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Keep going. It's there's going to be 2 videos that pop up on Rumble. One's going to be the live show that we're doing right now. Then the other one's going to be the complete one that nobody ever watches from tonight. It'll go in tomorrow.
I
know.
Okay. So what we're going to be talking about is where to find players that help replenish your player count at your table. As when some people may have left at the end of your last campaign, or things happen, people move away. So what we're looking at is ways of pulling more people to your table. So just an overall type thing. Jaide, how do you get people to your table, either starting a game or replenishing players?
Normally, for non-new players or repeat friends or players, I normally send out a message via Facebook, via Discord, or maybe even just text messages to anyone. To my regulars first. That's where I always start is with my regular player base. If they're not available, or I can't get enough players to start a game, I'll start looking at my local game stores. Back when I first moved to the area, the thing to do was actually go to the community college and find gamers there, because I'd asked the owner of the only game shop in town at that time. And he said he had a lot of players coming in from the community college. So I went there and met up with a bunch of players, and met all of you guys afterward. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't use
Shadow.
Facebook for literally anything else other than Messenger. So
on Rumble, awesome.
All right. And Shadow, how do you find players to replenish your ranks or to get new players?
I'm kind of always looking for players, and by players I don't just mean gamers, but people that I actually click with that I would like to hang out with more, and usually for sometimes I should say for other things, people that I know I'm going to get along with, because it's sometimes personality conflicts will kill your game, and I'd rather try to nip that in the bud by finding people that I can work with to begin with, that I that want to hang out with, even if we're not gaming, because there's a lot of times where we meet people who might be really good gamers, but then as soon as the game's over or before the game starts, they bring up different things that may not be issues that the rest of the table was going to want to talk with. I know that sounds kind of like building an echo chamber, but sometimes that is part of it. You need to kind of find your tribe, people that you're going to get along with inside and outside of the table, so that you can have for the most part a better rapport with them, and you can communicate with them, I think, a little better, it seems.
Okay. And
so everyday life, that would be the simple answer.
Okay. So Bruce,
Yes.
how do you find new players or to get those to replenish your ranks?
What'll happen for me is atypically it'll be a situation where most of my players are needing to relocate. Like the last time everything hit the fan was when the virus of mysterious origin hit and you were having to wear masks. And what happened was a lot of my players just decided to move back in with mom across the country, or they went and they had a change of jobs, or they added 2 new jobs to their weekly routine, and they couldn't do things like they were doing before. Saturday 8-hour streams were just absolutely too much to commit to, and I get that you need to pay rent, but I was kind of being a dick at the time, and so I lost them because they needed fungibility. They needed to be able to pay their bills, and I felt bad because I was really hard on them. Like, come on, you really? And they're like, no, dude, this is the end times. I'm like, it's not the end times. And they're like, we need to armor up and put our ammo count up in the thousands. I'm like, well, I agree with that, but like we don't have the money, so we're going to go like work 14 to 16 hours a day. And that's what led up to it. And then after that, that was when it all came crashing down. And for about 3 months, if you look at my stream, it was in 2020 when everything just kind of hit rock bottom. I was doing like 3 players or less. And for some people, 3 players is all they want. I run a really complex game. We play hero system, or we play a game and we each have 3 characters. That's all they want, you know. Okay, fine. I typically do best with 8. You know, you and Connell have been there when I ran games. I think even Jaide has. And I just run with a big table. I like that. It lets me flex as a DM. It lets me run and test the system as I think it needs to be. And it just offers more challenge to me. The only problem with a big table, I will say this, is that with games like Pathfinder or high-level D&D, for some people, that is a slow game. Okay, I get it. But after I've hit rock bottom, I start going to the local clubs. I start going on the use groups. I start finding Yahoo groups. Hey, Legion of Myth. I start finding people that are looking for groups. Discord is a gold mine for this. And I don't know if you guys have ever used the LFG channels on any of the affiliate accounts of ours, or friends that, you know, like Legion of Myth has that looking for group, looking for players, looking for GM. And you can mine those, you can work those. And a lot of times I find my table is really just GMs that want to take a break. And so I've got a bunch of people that are playing characters that are very complex, that they're first timers, like Janet, and she's playing a cleric. Then I have people like Chris and Connell and others that are very much just plug and play. This character, he shoots a bow. This character, he does this. And they do that. And they really, I have a lot of GMs that come to my table to play meat sticks. They play martial characters. And they like that. And I love that. But I use my periphery circles into Discord and into Gilded. And once I hate saying this aloud, but I'm going to have to start doing trials on my games. And whenever I start running the trials on my game, I'm probably going to give up my Sundays with my friend Machini. I'm probably going to have to do some real testing on Sundays because I need to put through its paces. And as much as I want to run campaigns, I know I should probably do like one shots, or just grab the old Pathfinder 2nd edition book, the Doomsday Clock, and borrow that and use that as the test bed for what I'm going to push my game through to see how it handles 1st level, 5th level, 7th level, 10th level, 15th level. And once I do that, I'll be happy with that. But for gamers, all you have to do, I've found, is say, what schedule can we work with? And once they get used to the idea, you have to find their hot buttons. And this is where the game is almost like selling cars. And Crafty should be probably in agreement here. But when you're looking to replenish your numbers, you got to find people that have time available to be at the table. And I'm going to reference it as to be at the table, even if it's overline, even if it's online or on Discord or whatever. But you want to have it to where they can make themselves available and they can commit. This isn't something that they're going to take lightly. This isn't something like, I can watch Gunsmoke any other day. No, they're like, I'm looking for a game. You got to find people that are hungry for a game. And so like a lot of our Discord groups are filled with people that haven't played a game as not a dungeon master in over 10 or 15 years. Shadow is one of those guys. I got him in my game for 6 to 8 months. I forget how long it was. I had fun with him. Then you have like other guys like Connell. Connell's always running a game. Kai, if Kai could ever commit, I'm pretty certain he would jump in. But you throw it out there to a GM that I'm willing to, here's the length of time I want to run for, and here's what I have. And a lot of people will sell themselves on the idea. And all you really have to do is just find their hot button. And Shadow, once Shadow started playing, now Shadow plays what, 4 times a week?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I
With
mean,
more coming this summer. I've already been invited to a couple other big games.
this is why we want to retire, guys.
Not only that, but
One day.
Jackie and I are currently, we've been invited to beta test 3 different games, mostly miniature games, but you know, it all, you know, connects, you know, one way or another. You know, you never know what's going to happen in this hobby. That's one of those great things about it.
I think those warm markets that we have in our Discord, and I think a lot of us that stream with other gamers, I think like when you find out how everybody's preference is, like if Baron G Rock wanted to play, I would want to set up a time where he had availability, and I'm like, you know, brother Ronaldo had a son, right? We need to talk about his adventures. Shadow, if I was going to recruit Shadow into a game, I'd be like, Shadow, I'm getting ready to start up a 6-player all paladin group, and you're not just controlling the paladins. You're not only controlling the paladins, you're paladins with leadership. So there's going to be like a whole fucking caravan following you, this holy crusade. Good luck. And he'd probably jump on board. If I was going to try to sell something to Jaide, I'd look at Jaide and be like, I'm looking to have a game.
Yes. you had me at looking for players for a game. You had me there.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that whenever I'm looking for a game, as a dungeon master, I don't get scared at the first 20 no's. On my end of it, whenever I'm throwing it out there, hey, I'm getting ready to run a game, I'll get 100 people to say, yeah, I want to play. But they don't bite. They don't jump. I got whole Discord channels that are full of my friends where they're trying to kick around a day where they can all sit down and play either Hero System or Delta Force or what is that? What's the Cthulhu Delta?
Delta Green. Yeah. I would avoid that like the plague right now. But yeah.
Well, the new version sucks, but the older version was great.
Same people.
The new version is written in 2020, whatever. It's not the game I want to give money to. But if I had an old version, if I had a pawn shop nearby that had it, I could see that. But we've also, like, Tablebreakers has got a good market of people that see us every week. And so if you actually went out and chat, if you waded through chat and be like, hey, listen, I'm having a game on this day. Can you make it? Can we set up a time for you could try to get along with the group? Because I would wade right in there. 6 Nations, 31 Kings, Flayed 1. I would go right in there. I'd be just handing out the cards like, we're going on this Discord channel. We're going to play here. The first 3 sessions are not going to be aired on live interwebs. After that, we're airing it live. So if you want to just like have your avatar there and have him jiggle whenever you speak, that's great. If you want to have your camera on, that's cool too. I like having cameras on. You don't have to have your camera on yourself. Like Shadow, you can see his face, but you also see that he's not distracted, but he's kind of focused on putting minis and crafting together. And I like that because I can see that what he's doing is game related, not my game related, but he's thinking about games. He's thinking about shit. So he's multitasking, and that's good. With Baron and with Jaide, they usually have the focus on the camera on their faces, so you can see whenever they're happy or sad, and you can get that bounce back. Now, I don't go Shauner, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about Shauner, so let's not have hackles up. But whenever Shauner plays, he likes having the faces on cam because he wants to see people's reactions to what's going on. That's kind of cool. At the same time, he goes into a very deep RP session, and he would prefer you have voices, accents, inflections. I'm not going to demand that much. If I can just get your voice, I'd be happy. If you want to go with different voices or different accents, you can. Jaide did an amazing job with the Northeastern accent on I liked it. Other
Eh.
people were slamming it, but I enjoyed it.
I mean,
I-
I'm not from the Northeast. I'm from middle of literal nowhere. In central United States. So I have the nothing accent. So
You have the accent, which has been used as a baseline standard for journalism
Yeah.
for over 50 years.
yeah, you're not wrong.
So I just want to have everybody, whenever I am needing players, I really kind of figure out my focus of who I want or what is the type of person I want. And I go for that area first. Like if I want to have a bunch of people that are into like Rift style RP or Palladium style RP, I would go over to Legion of Myths Discord and I'd advertise there. If I wanted to have people that like what I run, I would probably just wait into my own chat section and be like, here's a day where we're playing. Can you show up? Can you play? Here's how we'll do characters, and give them the particulars of it in the Discord itself. You want to have a Discord server with the pinned information for how to roll up characters right there. So when they enter it, they see exactly what's going on, and they know what the stakes are. They know how serious or how joking this campaign can get. With me, I don't want to have it too serious. I don't want to have it too joking. I prefer adult, but I can run for kids. I'd rather not. No offense to kids. Just grow up, okay? Just get over 18. So I want to have a game where my players enjoy themselves, and that's what I strive to do. Now, in the process of that, I want to enjoy myself. And sometimes I got to eat crow because, like, sometimes a player will be like, well, actually, this rule in this Pathfinder book says this thing right here happens. And I let you have that. Fine, you get it. Whatever. I think we've all been there. I'll turn it back over. Go ahead, Garrett. What other information do I need to answer on this?
So kind of going with our little clockwise thing got going on here. Bruce, actually, let's go back to Bruce. We'll go the opposite way.
Yeah, man.
So you said that you use like the local game stores to pull that. So what do you do in those game stores to kind of drum up excitement to join your game?
First, I'll probably have a day where I go in there with my books and miniatures, and I'll run, and I'll do like a basic level 1 adventure, not a super joking one like We Be Goblins, although a lot of people would probably enjoy that. But I would probably do like something from the Dark Moon Veil series that Paizo did. Like whenever I ran my last con game at a store, I ran 2 sessions of, I think it was J2, where the kobolds were in a dwarven temple. And one of the guys that was playing a dwarf, like, he didn't know the Paizo dwarves were like the ugly, unloved children of Paizo Pathfinder world. And so he's like playing the dwarves like they're Tolkien-esque dwarves. Oh, we should never allow these kobolds into our holy sanctum. We should destroy them. He's just going all out on his Sean Connery-isms. And I had one of those, well, actually, PFS players telling them all about like how Paizo hates dwarves, and this was the only time they were really focused on dwarves way back in 2008 or 9. And I kind of felt sorry for the player that wanted to play this dwarf in a Tolkien-esque fashion, because there's none of that in the campaign world. Now, at my table, I'd rather go Tolkien-esque than Paizo. I like dwarves, not really big on what Paizo wanted to focus on, which is everything not traditional. They wanted Kitsune and all the races that had been hinted at before but never really fleshed out. And I applaud that. Thank you for the variety. I didn't need it, and that will sit on my shelf, uncracked and lots of dust on it. But we played and did 2 sessions of that module, and we got through that campaign day. And I say 2 sessions of it. I ran 2 4-hour slots from noon to 9 with a 1-hour break between. And my players at the end of the day, 4 of them stayed. I had 8 for each slot, and 4 of them stayed all the way through it, and they really liked it. And then I started running there consistently. And I say consistently, I mean like This is also a place where you had to lay down $60 for a day of gaming in their room because they have smoke machines and high media setup, and they had it. I mean, if you go back on my channel in 2017 and 18, you can see the videos, which are not that good because I think I had a cracked camera lens, but I was videotaping that from Night Watch Games, and that's one of the best places I've ever been. That's why they have the 2019 Gamma Award for Retailer of the Year. Two of their rooms are completely closed off and insulated, so you don't hear what's going on in the main store. You get to hear only what's going on in your room. You have a smoke machine, you have multimedia suite, you have a really good Mac interface. If you use Mac, if you have Windows, well, you're kind of fucked, and I'm kind of fucked. But they give you everything. They give you these really big, comfortable table chairs that are from like the 17th century, and I don't know why, but they had these antique chairs from a table somewhere over in England, and they had Night Watch Games goes above and beyond. You pay for the experience. And so for like a year and a half, I paid on the weekends to go there, and you just run consistently. Every DM James says, I would quit playing RPGs altogether if my only choice was Pathfinder. Dungeon Master James, that was the last big box games that I really liked. Now I'm writing my own. Good to see you, sir. But I ran consistently, and I had 3 weeks ahead of time because I was doing 2 weeks on, 1 week off in the oil field. On that Sunday, I'd come back and I'd run, and everybody knew that you're not going to get that table when Bruce is in town. They started respecting me so much, expecting my money. They would write it in for me and take payment whenever I'd show up in town every third week. So that was how I managed to get the group I have today, because 4 of those players are from that time. And then 3 other players are friends of those 4. And that's really how that turned out. And then Janet, I just bumped into her online, started streaming with her, and now she's part of the crew. Don't ever mess with Janet, by the way, I found out, because like her entire, like whoever she streams with, like she'll take your chat, they are her roadies. She has such a good crew of people that are like, she says, I'm going to be streaming this Friday. There's already like 20 people saying, we'll be there for you. We'll be there. And I can't wait. I hope to see her. And hopefully her sister shows up, because whenever her and her sister are in the same panel,
Oh God,
discussion about their dad. We don't know exactly how many progeny he had, but we know he had a large family. he was a son of a preacher, so I mean he went out and he seeded. Every stop is harvest. I love the guy. I want to shake the man's hand. He had 5 amazing girls at home. Probably has some brothers. Anyway, like just and if you ever want Janet to be on a stream with you, I recommend Bring Wine. It's great. Flady says, okay, back had neighbors to deal with. Good to see you. I really appreciate streaming with her, because she's brought a new dynamic to my channel. She's really brought a great dynamic to the channel. But whenever she has her Friday night shit show, as she calls it, and that's what it's titled, the Friday night shit show, it is a interesting stream. That's all I'm going to say.
this is true. I think I was on the inaugural shit show, and it was an experience. That's all I got to say.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No. So, Shadow, what about you? Have you ever curated from the local game store, either either currently or before? And what did you do in order to curate those players?
Well, back in the day, my very first game was, typical teenagers around a dinner table. But the very next, and for the next 3 years, I worked at a great double game shop. One side was the games and the comic books and all that good stuff. The other side was just a rented giant room with ping pong tables, some arcade machines. All the ping pong tables been converted to game tables with dry erase boards, and each DM, had a table that they would run, and I ran tables for the 3 years the place was open, and we had a bulletin board where we would advertise for players, and each DM would usually create something like literally a sign of, sort of an advertisement for the dungeon or adventure they were running, telling you, what level characters, how many players they were looking for, with the ability to change the number as we picked up people, with some sort of short blurb about the campaign or adventure that we were running, to advertise basically what we were offering as individual DMs, because there would be some people that would only be playing Traveler or Gamma World or Space Opera and other games. I was running Traveler and AD&D, mostly AD&D, and I would say AD&D game for 6th to 9th level type of thing, because people would just come in with their characters that they'd been playing at their dinner table, heard about the shop, and maybe wanted to get a little side quest going so they could come back to their group and go, oh, look what I got from this better DM, and kind of use that to their advantage, or vice versa, and just advertise what you were going to run. But at the same time, the bulletin board also was a great place to meet people for games outside the shop when the shop was closed, or maybe people, especially the adults who wanted to partake in certain, other extracurricular activities while gaming. You couldn't do that at the shop because, they didn't have a liquor license and, things like that. So they would, recruit players to come to their homes, of which I was invited to a couple. One game I was in was very adult, and I learned a lot of, crazy things about the real world doing that. But it was a great experience to, meet a lot of different players and learn a lot of the skills that a lot of DMs, just don't get, because they're playing with the same players over and over and over again. Something I, kind of fell back into the trap after the shop closed. And, if you can get to your local shop, I highly recommend, giving it a chance. We don't have a shop here, but, you can meet some new people and, pick up some tricks, especially, if you're going to go later on and run a game after playing. You'll maybe you're new at it, and you want to pick up some tricks that your players are unfamiliar with. Maybe they're new monsters and how to use them, or new uses for spells, or new traps you could design. There's so much you can learn that you'd be really, selling yourself short if you don't give it a try.
All right. And Jaide, what about you?
So going to the game shop is, for players, for me at least, is a relatively new thing. Again, most of the time I had, a collection of players that I could just call up and be like, hey, game Friday, be there, and they'd show up. So finding new players wasn't really a problem for me for a very long time. It's only been a recent issue for me, is because everyone has, grown up jobs instead of, not grown up jobs, i.e. school,
Paper
routes, and everyone seems to have these weird schedules because nobody works a 9 to 5 during the week anymore, except very fortunate few, it seems. I count myself lucky to be among the fortunate few who do work a 9 to 5 job, for 5 days of the week. So a lot of the people I used to game with have vastly different schedules. So, I haven't been able to game with them for a very long time, which is really unfortunate because I'd love to get those tables back together. So what I've been doing lately is I've been going to one of my local game shops. I have actually 3 within a half-hour drive of my home location. One of them's 2 blocks away. I will go to that one occasionally, but the one I prefer is actually about a 10-minute drive away. it's a smaller game store, and I don't know, the clientele there, I just jive with them a better, I think. So what I've been doing as a game master is I've been going to the shop owner and be like, hey, do you have any nights open for me to run like a one shot? See what kind of what kind of players are out here, what kind of play styles people have. He's like, oh yeah, sure, and he sets it up in his game store's calendar, which is on Facebook, and he starts advertising the game for me. I don't have to do any of the advertising. He just asks, "Hey, what's the game? What engine is it? What what's the story that you're running?" And he'll do a lot of the advertising, because people might ask, "Hey, do you have any games coming up at the store?" So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing that again on the 24th of June, which I can talk about again later. But it's for free RPG day. I'll probably be running 4 to 5 one-shot sessions that day. So that's another way to go meet new players is free RPG day.
Okay. So Bruce touched on this already, so I'm going to skip over him on this one because he already kind of went over this. With the online resources such as Discord or Group or stuff like that, Shadow, have you used any of those type of resources in order to pull those in? So like social media, Discord, anything like that, in order to pull those in.
Yeah, that's how I met most of you guys. YouTube, Discord, a little Facebook here and there. Haven't Gilded totally screwed me. The beginning of the week, I was supposed to hook up with a fellow YouTuber who's got a really big channel, and I was there early, the whole bit, and couldn't answer the damn call, man. And I tried as I might, and then it's like, sorry, dude, maybe next time. But yeah, I definitely recommend Discord. Facebook is a little, hit or miss because you never know what you're going to get. However, if you found like a particular group that you're really comfortable with, and you've kind of made some acquaintances there, you can always throw out some feelers, put out an advert. I use it for buying and selling of miniatures and things like that, and with a lot of success. Finding your tribe shouldn't be that difficult. Over the course of the last year of just playing, I've met scores of people and been in scores of different games. It's almost, for me, because of where I live, it's not really conducive for meeting players. I've met a bunch of players here, but I don't like inviting people into my house, and with COVID and things like that, it just wasn't gonna happen. So I really got into online playing, and where are you gonna meet those kind of people? Online. So yeah, just know what you're looking for. It is really everybody's got different kinds of players they want. Like I said earlier, maybe make yourself a list of the things you're looking for in a player, so that you can constantly remind yourself of what kind of players you're looking for. Like Bruce said, he wants it, the game to not be too serious, be able to make some jokes without the thespians getting all frustrated, because you're breaking the immersion. Well, then how about I break you out the freaking door? We're human, we're gonna make jokes, we're playing a freaking game, and maybe this isn't the table for you, or maybe it is. But if you know what you're looking for, it really makes it easier for everybody, because you can even put those traits that you're looking for, and people will go, oh, they're looking for jokers, okay, not my table. Or, oh no, they're looking for Pathfinder players, okay, cool, that's what I play, or that's what I don't play. And put it out there, just like fishing. You keep it up, eventually you'll land that thing you're looking for, or person.
All right, and Jade, I know you mentioned a couple things. What about you using the? I know you said Facebook earlier, but for the other things, have you used any of those for, cultivating your player?
For cultivating players, not yet. I am so I have been cultivated, so to say, by use of online. I'm actually part of multiple Discords. I'm part of the Index Card RPG Discord. One of the other ones is Kane's Kiln. And I've gotten into games at those Discords. Other places I have looked at getting into games, but haven't pulled the trigger on because one thing or another. Facebook is one. I've also gone to the actual websites or forums of some of the games I play, such as Index Card RPG or Giant in the Playground. I've gone to some of those as a resource to do LFG, pickup games. I haven't seen a lot of Giant in the Playground for a very long time, but then again, I haven't checked back for a very long time. So the Paizo forums also used to be big for LFG. And anymore, I'm using mostly just Discord to find groups. But the other online methods are, there are some that are you can pay to play at tables, which I know sounds very counterintuitive. But there are some game masters out there who run paid tables. You can find those on what site is that? Startplaying.games, I think is what it's called. And I think RPG Table Finder is another one. And those are places, those are websites dedicated to looking for group, games where you can go and it's like, I'm looking for a game master. I don't have a game master in my area, or I am looking to game master. I need players. You can set up games in, pretty much any one of the forums or, those other two sites I mentioned. And you can probably get a pretty full table really quickly.
Okay, so we've talked about different ways to get the players. Now comes the thing is once you have that list, how do you vet them? Let's start with Bruce. How do you vet those new players that you have acquired now through your many means?
All right. So what I'll usually do now is I'll run multiple sessions of the same adventure, or if I don't see any new people show up at the game store, I'll just, all right, well, we'll continue where we left off. Sometimes people, when they see that you're running the same adventure twice, they ask you, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm trying to see if I can put together a group of players. I ran this last week with 2 groups of 8, and they seem to have fun, but I've got 6 people from last week that are here again, and they're saying that they want to play some more. They don't want to play the same game. None of them want to play the same game I ran. So, okay, that's fine. You want to play with those same characters and just kind of campaign through it. And that right there is how you start your campaign. It's kind of sneaky, and I don't recommend everybody do it, but I set up a game to be ran 3 or 4 times. And once that first session goes down, typically you're going to have some people that don't show up again because they're like, I didn't like that group, or I didn't like that DM. Okay, whatever. And you keep the ones that stay, because that's really what you're looking for. You might not get along with them, by the way. You might not really like the magician or the person who plays the cleric. Maybe she smells a little bit. But you know what? They're in the seat. And even more so with today's game, a lot of people run games online. So bathing isn't really a thing anymore. I hate to say that. I really wish bathing was still a thing, even if you're going to play at home online. And don't play bare-chested from your camera. That's what I have to ask.
Sorry,
I love you, Mr. James Raggy, but I don't need to see that. If if I want to stare at moves, I can just go to the bathroom and check myself out for the next few minutes. But that's really what I do. I'll set up a game for like 3 weeks straight at a game store, and I want to run the same module a few times just to see if I get new players, and then I start putting the great players together and see who stays. That's really it. It's kind of like when you're the fat ugly chick in a military town, the last guy to leave the party is who you're going home with. And I know that sounds really disgusting or bad, but this is reality.
And you've been watching the same videos as me, haven't you?
I just updated my preferences on YouTube. We'll see if I get more of that Melanie Mac go boom. I need more of that Christianity in my life. I'm just saying that I see who stays, and I want to have people hang out and want to have fun with characters. If I don't get multiple groups of same people, kind of like a George Lucas audition. Flatey. Highlight that. Grotopotomia and Malos. I can't even say it. Between that and it smelled like smoked salmon. Okay, so you're looking to have players, and I try to run the first 3 sessions as the same session, just with different groups, and I'll George Lucas my way to finding players that want to stay and partake. Now, however, if the first session goes over so well that you have 6 out of 8 players stay, and they're telling the other players, like, hey, listen, he was going to run another module, but the 6 of us showed up again. We're going to start a campaign. Do you want to start a campaign? Then sit over here. And now they're running recruitment for you. So for a while there, I had 12 players in a first level Pathfinder game. And that lasted for about 4 sessions when the store told me that I had to stop running such a big group, which I felt kind of offended. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, there's only so many room for chairs here. And that girlfriend has been sitting on her boyfriend's lap the whole time. And it made somebody uncomfortable. I'm like, they're married almost. They've got the date set. They've got rings. I mean, she's okay with it. He's okay with it. There's no coitus at the table, I hope. I just, I want to run. They're like, Bruce, you have to tone your game down. And that's what Night Watch did. They kind of put the brakes on me with 12-player cap, 13 people in the room. And that was where we got stuck for about first 8 sessions. And then we started running with the camera at about 4th level. I think it was running. I picked up a module that the players decided to go all the way into on that, and that was the Vault of Warren-Carr. And they really enjoyed that. And then over the course of time, I went from 12 players to 8 players, and I roughly stayed there till about 2020, went down to 3 players. I lost the most offensive person at my table, which I still mourn that loss, but he was a young kid that he would say something and make us all like develop real laughter. And he was probably the most perverted person at the table, which is probably the standard, I guess, for nowadays. But he would come to the table, he'd play the game a little bit, but he'd do more phone work. He'd be playing with his memes the entire time, and he'd be doing this all night. So I managed to keep a high amount of players over the course of about a year, and then I went down to about 8 after about February of 2019. And there were players that for a while, when I first moved here to San Antonio in 2013 and 14, I had 2 guys that would they'd drive up from Corpus Christi 2 hours away, sleep on the floor in the spare bedroom where I had, and I was running with 8 players at my old townhouse that I had too. But I mean, that's the type of game I want to run. I want to have a game where, like, you have friends that come over and they basically sleep on the floor, and then you run for like 12 hours over the course of a weekend. That's the ideal game, in my opinion. I know that sounds maybe a little bit untenable on a long-term basis. For a full year, we did that once every 3 weeks. And that worked out pretty well for us.
All right, Shadow. How is your vetting process go?
It's not going to be for everybody, but if you're a bubblehead, you'll know. Pick a kind of a nice restaurant and invite a couple of the players to it. Maybe as many as you can get to go, and you'll learn a lot about the people. How they show up, if they're on time, how they're dressed. Hell, even what they order. You want to. I personally want to be able to hang out with these people, not just at the game. Develop a decent relationship. Because we're talking about getting into something that's going to be, years. If you're lucky, it's going to last for years and years. And you know, I'm hoping these are going to become friends. They're going to tell me, when their birthdays are. When people are in the hospital. All the little things that happen with life. And then when the end of the meal rolls around and it's time to chip in for the tip, you learn a lot about a person. I had this one guy. It's like, I don't tip. What do you mean you don't tip? I don't tip. Tried to go into the Reservoir Dogs thing, and I'm like, all right, no worries, I get it. Didn't invite him back. You're gonna be like that. I don't want you at my table. When I'm dungeon mastering, and it's in my place, so you're basically gonna potentially show me that kind of disrespect at the gaming table. Oh, I don't tip, or I don't bring enough snacks to share, or I don't even bring anything at all to the table. Bare minimums, you got to bring flowers for whoever's the lady of the house. Simple common courtesies that manners that we've tossed out the window. I'm still looking for those. I want polite, friendly people who I can get along with. Because maybe after a game, we're going to want to go to a restaurant, maybe, enjoy something else, maybe, a lot of you guys, went to go see the D&D movie. Do you want to be in a game where you guys can't, go and enjoy a movie that, that might be centered around, your mutual hobby? I want to be able to, go and do these things outside the game and go, hey, we're not gaming, but, we're all going to the movies, you want to come along, it's not just, a job application, it's potential friends that will last, years and years and years, maybe, depending on how old you are and the way, the dice roll out for you, it could be for the rest of your life. You're making friends that, you're going to, fight back to back with and go through thick and thin in the game. Well, what's it going to be like outside the game? Are they just going to be fair weather friends? They're just there for the game. Sorry, I'm out. Maybe you want that. Maybe you don't. Me particularly, I want, people I can hang out with. Like at Bruce's table, Bruce has got a lot of, locals and not locals, but everybody there, I know if they were in town, they're going to come over, hang out with Bruce, and do a lot of stuff that's not just games. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, with Chris and his wife coming back into town, once she gets settled back, it'll be a lot easier for him to swing by, and maybe we'll be able to break the plastic on Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I know that's not a D&D game. That's not Pathfinder. That's board gaming, but I really want to do that.
Exactly. Sometimes you might even want to invite a player over for a non-role-playing game. We're playing a big game of freaking Twilight Imperium. That takes a bunch of good people you can tolerate for a very long period of time under a very stressful situation.
Yeah.
Just don't ask them over for diplomacy.
Yeah, I was going to just say that. I think if I ever get diplomacy, I need to have that in an not off property, but I need to have that in a separate building, because the wife would probably get really upset because she's hearing people conspire in the hallway, and she would be irritated because they're distracting her from her crafting, and then she would be like, "What are you guys playing?" And then somebody would tell her, and then she'd be like, "Oh, hell no, ain't nobody gonna hurt my husband." and the mama bear shit would come out. Sorry.
When I was at that game store, just a lad of 14, I saw more fistfights break out over a game, over that particular game, to the point that it actually got banned from the shop because of all of the havoc and negativity. It was like this cloud would just like get sucked into the building, and you could just almost see it. Oh, here come the diplomacy players. Ah, shit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless you're trying to get people out of your life, the game has no, not my home.
All right, Jay, what about you? What do you do to vet players out?
So generally, it starts with conversation.
Guys.
We talk shop about the game, about the hobby in general, about the kinds of characters they've played, the kinds of games they've been in. And normally that happens over like a meal or something, like either like a bread bowl at Breadco or I'm still going to call it St. Louis Breadco instead of Panera. It's just what I grew up with. But we're going to have conversations, and I'm going to get to know the person. And it could even be over a beer. Go down to our local Cheers-like establishment, and go to the basement bar or tavern and have a drink, and figure out what kind of person they are. Now, I didn't do that recently with a player. I was game mastering for his group at his house, and I had just started my position where I'm currently working, and the guy was a gamer, and I thought we would get along all right, but things didn't work out well. I didn't vet well enough, or I didn't pick up on certain social clues I probably should have, and things just didn't work out. Having players or game masters that you work with is vastly different than having game masters or players that you're friends with and see on a semi-regular basis instead of a daily basis. Just seeing the individual for the 5 days a week at work plus one evening during the week just wasn't conducive to a healthy work or play environment. So I would, if you've been at a place long enough and you are good friends with the people you work with, it probably could work out. I would caution against it, but to each their own. So as far as vetting other players, at like game shops and whatnot, I'm going to run probably several one shots to see how they play, to see what kind of player they are. They might be the same one shot, or they might be multiple different one shots, but I'm going to keep track of who it is that's showing up at the table to play at the game shop. And I'm going to take note, because I'm one of those kind of game masters who takes copious amounts of notes. If my pencil is moving, or if my pencil's not moving, check for a pulse. So I'm gonna take notes on the players at the table. So I have like a mental reference. For one, what is their name? Two, what do they generally play? If I get like one person who's consistently playing a rogue, awesome. I know that guy likes the sneak thief. That's cool. If I get a person who plays something completely different and not connected in any way to what he's already played before, awesome. That player is flexible. They're able to do whatever as far as class and whatnot. So I'm going to do a lot of my research at the game shop, running multiple different types of one shots. I'm hoping to run not just the sci-fi variants of ICRPG, but also the Alfheim or fantasy gaming aspect of it. I'm also looking at maybe running the prehistoric Blood and Snow variant of Index Card RPG. Just to see what kind of things people come up with and want to play. So that's how I do that.
So after you've got your vetting, after you've got everything done, when you finish a game or a campaign or whatever, what are the things that you look at to ask those players back? Bruce.
What do I do in order to ask those players back?
What do you look for in those players to ask them back for your next campaign or your next game? What actions or what specific things do you look for in order to allow them let's say the golden ticket to come to the next campaign?
I would say that my players, my dream players that I have will probably, we're going to go for eras here for a second. From 1997 till 2006, I really was not a great GM, and I apologize to you guys. Actually, till 2012, I think was when I really elevated my game quite a bit. And I apologize to you guys in Peoria, Washington area that I wasn't the best GM that I am now. I feel like I've leveled up quite a bit since then.
You abandoned us.
I'm sorry.
Where'd that come from?
But, well, no. I'm just saying where it came from is that in those days, I wasn't really focused on the craft so much. And I think I've tried making myself a more well-rounded dungeon master or game master. And my hot buttons were people that shared jokes that I liked or shared scenes from movies, or people like Kai, who he would just like say something and it would remind me of a Larry Niven scene I had read once or stuff like that. Like if you talk about the Knights Who Say Knee at my table back in 2009, instant you're coming back, right? And you get that. But after now, I think my big hot button to get pressed for players that I want to see return at the table, I'm looking for players that want to be part of the group around them. And that means that I'm looking for them to look for ways to partake within the team environment. So I want them to kind of realize you at the table are all they have to rely on. You and the resources you bring with you. And now I'm getting that more and more and more. Because I learned at a very young age that if you suck as a GM, you can deus ex machina and things will work out and they'll return to the table. And I kind of was the one GM back in the late 90s that I would be at the game store every night off that I had, unless my girlfriend demanded otherwise. And we would go do other things like boyfriend, girlfriend would, but she realized I liked that store and she would come and she'd watch like 80% of the time. She got a kick out of it. But I wasn't that good of a GM. I didn't stick to the landings too well on games. And I've gotten better at that, I feel. And now, whenever I'm running a game, I'm trying to assess who's trying to benefit the party. And so whenever you see my games in action, like you'll see me give real proximity and priority to players that do that. Like, I'm going to say her name again. And if you are playing a drinking game, you're down 4 shots if you start now. But Janet from Another Planet absolutely embodies the entire thing of Team Cleric. And when I say Team Cleric, I mean she's in it for the members of the party. She's there to help out their cohorts. If their hirelings are present, she's there to bandage them up. And then afterwards, she says, Bruce, I really don't know much about Freya as a person, and I would like to know more, but I don't have the time. But I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take Freya off, and she's going to go off and probably just do a sermon for people that need to have some spiritual guidance. And then after that, I'm going to go plant some wheat. Okay, cool. And that's what I am looking for people that are there bandaging up the party or helping them prep for the next session or figuring out what they're going for and what resources can they acquire, what can they focus their team effort on. And I'm doing that more and more and more as time goes on, because as much as the game I run in the black and white text tells you, well, as you get more powerful, you get these more powerful things, and you just hit this ramp, and it's a treadmill that makes you fatter. And that's basically Pathfinder or any basic 3ed or further version of D&D. It's like playing WoW if you just follow the book and don't vary off the path too much. You just make your players cooler and richer, and the game bogs down a little bit at 12th level and above. But if that's what happens, that happens. And we're finding out that I don't like the way that is. And so I try to play around that giant pothole that the game sucks at so much. And I try to focus my efforts as a GM to accentuate the players on how would you try to focus your efforts in this environment to where you're furthering the players' capacities and you're benefiting the team. How are you being a team player? And I find myself hitting that nerve all the time on my players, asking that. And I ask them that throughout the week in Discord chats. And then you'll have like on the stream, you'll be hearing us reference something that we said to each other in maybe a private conversation, but now it's coming out to where everybody's finding out what we were talking about for the last 2 weeks. And I find myself doing that more and more. And I don't like to sound like I'm a DM. I'm a cool DM. Listen to what I do, but I want to make sure that whenever I'm in DM mode, that I'm looking at it as to how can I help your player? How can I help you as a player focus your character to where you guys don't have to teleport back in an emergency session, try to find the head priest and resurrect dead buddy number 1, 2, and 3. And get number 4 and 5 bandaged up real quick because we almost had a TPK. I don't want to have it to where you guys have it. I want a good fight when there is a fight, but I don't want you guys to have to deal with that. If we prepare ahead of time, there's going to be less. You're mitigating risk, which I think that's more of the game for me that I'm running than anything else. And I know that sounds like I'm playing HR person, but really a good DM does a lot of human resources work. And along with setting the stage and giving a great narrative and making the players feel engaged with the world and building the little group of them around and building each other up, I think you really do a lot of human resources. That's just me.
All right. Shadow.
Hold on, Baron. Your eyes completely glazed over. Did I say the wrong thing? I mean,
no, I'm listening.
Okay. Just making sure.
Bruce touched on it.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, Bruce touched on it. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but I've been in the position where I've had to interview potential hirees for various jobs. You are doing that. You are potentially hiring players for your table. Sorry about the wind chimes. You if you've ever interviewed people, you'll get the people who come in and just answer the questions and then toddle off. I'm looking for the people who are going to ask me questions. They're interested in the world. They want to get into a game that has an environment that's appealing to them. So they're going to be asking me those questions. What's this like? What's that like? Do you have any restrictions on these kinds of characters or races or alignments? Not just, what's in it for me, in the way of, treasure and stuff like that, but the actual environment so that they can interact with it and feel comfortable with it. So I'm looking for, people who are going to be, fully invested in the game, not just their character, but the whole situation. Not that it's a railroad, but it's a big sandbox. Well, some sandboxes are full of cat turds. They're going to want to ask the questions that help them avoid those pitfalls along the way, as well as where are the cool places to build their sandcastle, and maybe even ask questions about the other players. Well, what kind of characters are going to be in the party? Oh, you've got a dwarf and you've got a gnome. Okay, cool. Oh, do you have any humans? That sort of thing, so that they can start getting ready for the game to fill the right spots. Not just to go, well, I'm going to run an elf too. Oh, we've already got 4. Well, I'm running an elf. Okay, well then we don't need you, because we need some humans and some hobbits and whatever. So players that really want to fit in, that are eager to play and enthusiastic about the world and the overarching initial hook that the players are going to be drawn in and the characters are going to be drawn in. So yeah, just like with interviewing potential hirees, you want the people that aren't just going to answer the questions and hope they made it, and if not, they're going to put in another application somewhere else. You want people that are kind of hungry for the position. That's simple for me.
So what we were talking about is after you finish the campaign for your next campaign. You're talking more along the lines of bringing them in.
Well, it's the same thing. You mean with the same players?
What do you? The question is what do you see as things that you would do to invite them back to the next game, the next campaign? That is what the question was.
They have to have got along with everybody else that we're potentially going to bring back. If they were the problem player, well, that problem will sort itself out. You just don't call them back. People that the other players are saying, hey, is Fred going to be in the game? We want Fred to be in the game. That's a really good indicator that person or that player meshed with the people that are going to be in the game. You want it to work out as good as it did last time, so you're going to look for all those clues that they got along with me, they got along with so and so. When they showed up, everybody was happy to see them. All the signs that make up a good player don't necessarily mean that we want them back as a group. They could have been great players, technically, but after the game, or whatever, they didn't contact you before the game, during the game, it's like, hey, we're on next week, right? Hey, I got some ideas, things like that. They may be just there and only there during those game hours, and the rest of the time they're not there. If they fit really well the first time, you'll kind of know it, and you'll want them to come back, and everybody else will want them to come back. Sometimes that's not going to be the case.
Okay. All right. And Jaide.
Sorry, I was fiddling around with some wireless communication nonsense. So the question is, how do I get those players back at the table?
No, what to you is the defining factor to invite them back to your next campaign? What's their kind of their kind of golden ticket to get into the next campaign?
One, they have to be team players. Like it can't be solo mode all of the time. I've had players who want to play the edgelord who can do everything by themselves. I've had multiple of those at the table. As a matter of fact, I had an entire table that was nothing but edgelords who could do everything by themselves. They didn't have any gaps in their weaknesses, or so they thought. I quickly
like.
Huh?
What was your TPK like?
I like it. I was about to say I quickly disabused them of that notion. Their TPK was actually so they were all playing edgelord rogue characters. So they were like, "Yeah, we can kill everything." I'm like, "Yeah, except ghosts." They're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "And wraiths, specifically wraiths, because you can't crit them, you can't sneak attack them, and they do con damage. What do you have? What are your stats? Not con? I thought so." And the things quickly devolved to, "Oh my god, we're so screwed," very quickly. Especially at, I think it was like a level. It was a party of like 6 or 7 rogue thieves of some kind. I think I had one scout in there. It was D&D 3.5, and I had sent a dread wraith after them. If you know anything about 3.5 dread wraiths, they are planet killers. You let one dread wraith through or loose on a town, and you have an entire town of wraiths, because that's what they do. They drain things cons down to nothing and then re-raise them as additional wraiths. And the party was not expecting the villain that they were hunting to be a necromancer, 1, and 2, to be willing to murder an entire city of, I think it was like 200,000 with one dread wraith. They weren't expecting that. They quickly learned a very valuable lesson of having a cleric in the party is a great idea. And not playing selfish players or selfish characters is also a great idea. But anyway, so I digress there. The golden ticket for my table, if you've been invited once, you're likely going to get an invite again if you were a team player. I've said it numerous times on this show, and I think I've said it a couple times on Gatekeepers. I have kind of a ranking system for players. And it's the Japanese style of ranking. It's, S through D. So S is the absolute, top tier, I want you at my table at all times type of player. And those players are attentive to the game. They know what's happening at any given time. I can ask them literally anything about what has happened in the game thus far, and they can recite almost word for word what has happened. They are on time or early, typically early to my tables. We do a little bit of chit chat before the game starts, but once the game starts, most of the side chat is done, and they are focused wholly on what is going on at the table. Other qualities of my S rank players are they not only know what their character is capable of doing, they don't have to do a lot of page turning to remember what their character is capable of doing. They have it either all written out, what they need, or they just know it. Now that I'm moving more towards index card RPG, rules light versus rules heavy and crunch heavy of 3.5 or Pathfinder, a lot of that whole memorization and page turning nonsense, that's just going to go away. Like, I'm not even going to have to worry about that, because I'll give them a pack of index cards and here you go. Put all your abilities on the index cards, so you just have them available if you need to reference them. Most of the abilities you shouldn't have to need to reference anything. You just like, oh yeah, that's what this ability does. It says it in the name. So my S tier players, automatic golden ticket in every time. Anytime they're like, hey, I want to join your next game, I'm like, yeah, give me your days available. You tell me what days you have, and I will try to work around your schedule, because you're an S tier player. Now, A tier players, they engage in a little bit more side conversation than I typically like, but that's fine. They are still tentative to the game. They know what's going on. I don't have to ask them, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to do this thing. I'm interested in doing X, Y, and Z. And oh, that NPC over there needs help with something. That might be a plot hook. I'm going to go investigate that. They are looking for the adventure at all times. They're looking to to actually play the character and role play, more so than roll dice. So, if you were there to role play, a character and really get into the narrative that's going on and help, tell the story as a group and be a group player, you're in my table. Like I want those kinds of players. Because that makes my life easier. All I have to do is plan out that night's, debacle, that night's shenanigans that I'm going to pull, and see what happens. Or, I might have a roll table of, oh, okay, so you went and did this roll. Okay, this is the result of that. Or players who also think outside of the box. I want them at my table because I think outside the box. I have an idea or a solution in mind on how to solve this thing, but the player goes, well, what if we did this? Instead of doing XYZ, what if we do CBA? I'm like, okay, I don't see why that couldn't work, and I'll go through the natural progression of cause and effect with them. So players who constantly push the bounds of what is possible, I do like those players, and I want them at my table. But the thing that's not going to get you invited back to my table, what makes you a C player or a B player, is engaging in excessive amounts of side talk, above board table talk. Like, if you're here for a casual game, I'm sorry, I am not the table for you. I don't just run casual games. I'm sorry, that's just not me. I run games where I want my players engaged and focused on the game. I want them focused on what's going on at the table, not what did Mary Sue say in the break room at lunch today. Like, I don't care about that. And my wife actually brought something up to me today as we were heading out to get stuff for a double date for tomorrow night, and she's like, I'm going to say something, don't get offended. I'm like, well, I don't really get offended much anyway. So it's like, you are more focused on the thing and never any small talk. Like, small talk does not interest you. And she was right. I hadn't thought about it like that. I'm not a small talk kind of person. I am very much I will talk shop. I will talk, encounters. I'll talk, about games and game related things all day with someone, or I'll talk about cars and, different things to do to tear a car apart and put it back together the correct way. I'll talk about that all day long. But she's right. I don't engage in a lot of small talk. So that's why I don't care for it at my table as much. Someone goes, oh, hey, by the way, do you see such and such is going to happen? I'm like, no, I don't really care. I'm focused on this. Why is what is going on? Why are you bringing this up? Like, what does that have to do with what we're doing right here? So I'm wholly focused when I'm running the game on the game itself, and players who are not focused on what's happening at the table in that moment, I'm sorry. I'm not interested in that kind of lackadaisical game. That I'm not the table for you, and I'll apologize for that. I am not the table for casual play. I'm more focused. So then we get to my D list players, which the way you get to a D listed player, which is my do not call player, is you are rude, you're abrasive, you are pissing everyone off at the table, including me. That's going to get you away out of my table very quickly because I'm not going to put up with it. You insult other players at the table. You insult me or my wife. If you insult my wife, you're done that instant. You're gone. Like, don't come back. Lose my address. Lose my phone number. Never darken my door again. So basically, be a decent human being, and you won't end up on the D list.
Okay. So, and we'll go ahead and start back with Jaide on this one and go back around. Is there any other vetting or any other ways that you attempt to pull people in, or anything else that you're wanting to try that you haven't? or things that you think would be a good idea that would work in additional situations.
Can you give me another example of that, like, or an example of that of it that you would use, so I fully understand?
Well, like for instance, is there something that some way of attracting players to your table that you maybe have thought about using that you haven't used, a resource that has yet to be untapped for finding those players, whether in a in-person game or an online game?
There's a few things I could probably do that would attract players, more players. And some of those would be including, miniatures. I don't really have a large collection of miniatures. It's not something I have or want to spend a lot of time with or money on. Bruce, he's got a huge collection of miniatures and they're all really freaking awesome. It's just not where I spend my focus or money at. Other things I could do to get people to want to be at my table. I mean, I'm assuming that's the focus of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Is advertise. Put it out in local game shops. Like, hey, I'm looking for players. And kind of engage with some of the players. Like, this is the kind of game I run, and give them the Cliff Notes version of the concept or game that the pitch basically for my game. A resource I have not used yet is Roll20. So I've used Roll20, for my during the pandemic to keep the game I had going. They have a looking for group feature. Now, I knew about it back then, but I didn't need to use it because I already had a group. And I was paying for Roll20, so I could have the dynamic lighting and the huge amount of storage necessary to store 6 modules worth of maps and such. And it was great. It was good fun. One of the features I didn't use that I might consider using if I go that route is, well, the looking for group feature. I do believe Foundry also has a looking for group part in or something with its forums. I think I haven't checked out Foundry. I really need to. But that might be one of the other things I put out there is, if you are comfortable running a game online through VTTs, put a link out there with like a dummy email address that you don't really care about, and put that out there to be like, hey, you're looking for a game, email this person here, tell them you're interested, and I'll send you a packet of information, and keep it brief. Keep it 1 to 2, maybe 3 paragraphs of information at most, and send that to whoever responds. And then you can get a game online and curate players that way. As far as other resources I haven't tapped into yet, I haven't done the tabletop was it RPG Finder or what's the other one? I've heard about them. Huh?
Hey, Raven.
You've used RPG Finder?
I have.
Okay.
When I was using it, the only thing, it was back in 2014, 2013, and I was one of 3 games that was showing up on it. I would go to the store across the street from me. There's a Dragon's Lair. One of the Dragon's Lair stores in South Texas is on Fredericksburg here. And I would go across the street and I would find their corkboard works better than RPG Finder. Now, RPG Finder probably has gone through some changes in the past 8 years, but I've found that going to game stores, pressing flesh, putting your information up for your game, or giving a QR code that leads to the website or your Discord server, that works so much better than anything else. And I know that sounds stupid, but QR codes help you out so much in getting people in touch with you. because they're looking for you. They're looking for your table, and they can ask questions directly to you.
Yeah, so this is just one of them. This is Tabletop Wizard by RPGTableFinder.com. The other one, let me switch screens here, is, and now the one I'm about to show is a pay for one. So they do have some games that are free, but the Game Masters are the one that set the price. This is the other one. This is Start Playing Games, or StartPlaying.games.
Do the Game Masters get paid?
Yeah, they're the ones who set the price, and then this website takes a small cut of the game, or of the fee. So I have it set to $5. Let me just go to their homepage there. They've games here where you have to pay $35 to enter, $30, and these are, that's the price the Game Master sets, and then this website collects a portion of it, and the Game Master gets the rest. So if you're looking to start games and get paid for doing it, consider running stuff here at startplaying.games. That's, I'm not paid by them, or I'm just putting it out there. It's a resource. You can use it.
All right. Shadow, is there any resources or anything that has been untapped that you feel, and you're muted, by the way, that you think that would be good that you haven't tried, that you think you may try in order to entice those players?
Haven't tried? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, we've covered a lot of things. I have some secret resources, having, been a PI. I know how to vet people, but you guys are doing it kind of for me. You guys had, and I mean everybody in the chat, etc. Word of mouth is one of the best, ways to vet. Ask your friends, hey, have you ever played with so and so? Yeah, they a good player? Okay, cool. I'm not really running any games right now, so I'm not using that, but I already, have a good idea from, this big circle, this big community of friends that we have. There's some great people out there that I'm gaming with, and, having been a player in those games, I like him in my game. I'd like him in my game, different people from different groups. But yeah, word of mouth, ask the people that that know each other, and go that route. The other stuff, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be, asking for social security numbers and stuff like that.
We're going to need a blood sample. Dude, is your aunt available? Is your aunt a virgin?
Sometimes, depending on where you live, that's not technically legal. So don't do that. Don't ask your friend at the DMV, stuff like that. And if you don't have a friend at the DMV, get one. But yeah, you guys out there are like the best resource. I've been in Bloodworth's game. I've been in Crafty Matt Craft's game. You'll meet these people. You can ask the other GMs and the other players, hey, would you mind being in a game with so and so? Have you ever played with so and so? Cool. You can ask them those questions, and that's like almost all you need, in my opinion. If you haven't done the other stuff, that's for online games. I am probably the wrong guy to ask for, in-person games, because I'm just not going to be doing it anytime soon. When I get my store in Texas, right next to Bruce's house, then it'll be a different, situation, and I expect each and every one of you to come visit. But until then, I'm just doing the online thing, and I think we've kind of touched on all the things that I would do. Your guys' mileage may vary. Other things I have not done yet: drug potential players, and sit there waiting with a smile. Hey, you are finally. Oh, God. Yeah, again, that's also illegal, but probably a lot of fun. Just at least to see the look on their face when they wake up. But yeah,
that's what kind of money, actually, to start. Just, hey, multi-gun man, you start your campaign like any Elder Scrolls game. and you just drug the player and let them wake up.
Oh, you're finally awake. You've been sleeping the most of the sea voyage.
Okay, last but not least, Bruce. Is there anything that you have not, a resource you have left untapped that you feel that might be able to draw more people into your table?
I primarily am a mini gamer, skirmish-based miniatures gamer. So I probably will eschew most attempts of people to pull me to like Roll20 or Foundry. This is as close as it gets. I'm not going to get into why I prefer this. It's just the type of game I play, the type of game I run, the type of game I prefer. I like games that have visual components. I'm not against board gaming. I think that can be like I believe either Flady or Six Nations 31 Kings said earlier, a board game night is a great palate cleanser. And doing that with your friends, and most of you that sit at my table, after 4 years, you guys probably know things about me like what day is this? What day what day do we celebrate this birthday? Like, okay, the last table I had here at my home, Chris, John, myself, and then Big Greg had a birthday consecutive of each other. We had 4 birthdays in 4 days. So after a while, we just like, after that 3rd year, okay, bring out the birthday cake. Because we're all birthday boys. And that was something we do. And there's still instances where like, hey, you're going to be in town? Let's meet up over at Max and Louie's. But the resources I don't tap are things like Roll20 or Foundry. I've bought not Albert Rodeo. What do I have? D20 Pro. And it's not bad. You can focus the camera onto a battle mat and have the players chat off to the side. It's got a Pathfinder API for it. But I don't want to play like that. I like the way I've discovered where I just turn on StreamYards, I invite the panel in as the players, and we go. Because that really works for Bruce. And it won't work for everybody. It really will not work for everybody, because there's some people that they're not going to want to pay $20 a month for 12 months a year to have 10 panelists to have 10 players. Or, they even have a more expensive option on StreamYard where you have a secondary camera and you can broadcast with multiple angles and all that crap. I'm not wanting to do that, but I'll use StreamYard's base premium plan, which I like. And that is a really good way for me to go. But Roll20, I don't like Roll20. I even before they went down the road they're on now, I wasn't a fan of theirs. You guys were talking a little bit of shade about the Delta Green guys. Well, I feel the same way about Roll20, and the majority of RPG companies out there are screaming to get the Twitter crowd to please buy our shit. And they're not going to buy your shit because they're broke. They don't have jobs. They don't have like gainful employment. They use pronouns. That's it. And as much as I dog on that, and I try not to be such a bastard or your creepy uncle from MySpace, I really am not looking for that crowd. I'm not looking for the crew of people that must have pronouns in their bio on RPG Finder. Must respect the puppy play that occasionally breaks out at the table. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that DM. So there's certain dog whistles that cause my shepherd to say, nope, we're not going to have this at the table. We're not going to have this person at the table. And whenever I go surfing for players on those forums, on those locations that I mentioned, like Foundry, Roll20, for some odd reason, it seems like I always get the front-loaded results of what I don't want. So I've just decided what I'm doing is fine. what I'm doing is fine. I go through my friends first. I go through my friends' Discord second. I hit the local game stores third. And finally, like somebody will pop up out of nowhere, like a traveler, like K-Pax, just in the middle of the train station. There's Kevin Spacey wanting to be at your table and play this mysterious space traveler at your table. And that's it. So that's what I work, and that's what I use, because that has worked for me. Not that those things are really bad that I don't like, but they don't work for me. And I don't want to learn an interface when I can just push miniatures around on a battle mat. I have a lot of miniatures. And I give you guys a lot of credit for wanting to learn APIs, for wanting to learn all the various user interfaces out there. That's good for you. If that's what you want to run, please go for it. I run the game I am playing, and the game I'm designing. You guys got a peek of that, and the scenery is basically Bruce draws the scenery out on a sheet. He literally draws it out in front of you, sets the characters up with rulers and inches, and that's how they interact with each other, with the world around them. And then once that instance is over, once that part's over, Bruce focuses the camera on himself, and you guys are playing with the DM is facing us again. Okay, cool. And that works. And I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, because it will not. But you guys out there that listen to what I have to say, maybe you do want to have the variety of people that put pronouns in their bio, that want to use Owlbear Rodeo or Foundry or Roll20. Although I disagree with your choice to choose Roll20. If you want to, go for it. That's up to you. And if it gets you butts in seats, that's the key thing about this entire hobby. If you don't have butts in the seats, you've spent money you're not getting a return on. You don't have to get a return on money with more money in the future. As long as you're getting use out of it, that's what you're supposed to do. That's how you know you're running a good game. I bought all these books, and I've been running this game, and out of these books, oh, that's cool. That's awesome. But how many books on your shelf do you have that you've never cracked open for a game? About 80%. Well, fuck, you wasted a lot of money. Excuse my French.
I don't think I have that problem. I think I've cracked every single book's spine at least twice, maybe 3 times minimum.
But how many of them have you ran multiple sessions of?
Oh, using the content from the book?
Using content from the book. Using the content. Yeah, all my Pathfinder shit has the spines are broke. I don't use all the books now, but I have used all the books. My board game collection, I've wasted money on, and I wish I had not. I want to crack the plastic. I want to play Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I want to play Dominant Species again. I love board games. My players don't come around for that. The problem with that is that I have a crappy parking availability where I live. Once I get my own place, I'm sure that'll change. My friends will learn. Visiting friends will learn the tactic of courtesy. Like, hey, when you're done with your plate, please put it in the sink. When you're done with your trash from Whataburger, we don't eat McDonald's here. When you're done with your Whataburger, please put it in the garbage.
I think the book that's seen the least amount of use.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the book that's seen the least amount of use for me is likely Vampire Requiem. I think I've cracked it open twice.
Take care.
Night, buddy.
Night, Kai.
Oh,
remember what I said earlier, bud?
Flady says, I want to play Titan so bad right now. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, dude, I feel you. I used to look at that box set all the time.
All right, so that's the last of my questions that I had. So I think we did pretty good, with the crew we had, kind of giving ideas, and hopefully, these will help you in your next game when you're looking to get folks to your table. And now that time we all love. Jade, what do you got coming up this week?
Yeah, so I've had to take this last week off because, again, I'm only getting about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night right now, working long hours. Hopefully that clears up in the near future and I can start focusing on Gatekeepers again. But I am working on Gatekeeper content. And for those of you who don't know or don't watch, Gatekeepers is a show I run on Wednesday nights. As a matter of fact, you'll be able to see him there, Shadow, and Connell over at on either one of our channels or Connell's channel. And we answer questions related to tabletop gaming. If you are not part of our Discord, I'm sure Bruce can get a link to the Discord in the chat, or Baron can. But if you have questions that are related to tabletop role-playing games, you can ask it, and we'll give you multiple different opinions based on the different panelists we have available. We have been recently joined by Meyer Hawkman on occasion, and as a matter of fact, he's feeding me a lot of suggestions here recently. So I'm hoping to dive back into it and get some good content out for everyone.
Okay. And Shadow, what about you? What do you got coming up this week?
Well, as you know, the boys been home from vacation most of this week. Next week, we're going to start playing some actual games and doing some reviews of revisiting some games. But in the immediate future, I will be doing, the usual Sci-Fi Shadow chat. Thanks again, Baron. Don't have a topic yet, but we'll have something for this Saturday. And then Sunday, I think we're taking a break from Connell's show because he's on vacation. Connell, hope you're watching the show and enjoying your vacation. And, we'll see you, real soon. But yeah, just like it says in the title, Shadow and Son, me and my son, just doing the game things, the crafts, the painting. We had a real fun painting stream last night. Didn't get too political, although, not for lack of trying. But, we'll be doing the usual stuff, at least for the foreseeable future, till he goes off to visit Mexico next month. So this month we're going to try to, get in and play as many games as we can, and then share our experiences with you guys. Just, father and son stuff.
All right. And last but not least, Bruce, what do you got coming up?
Oh, boy. Well, I think Friday night, Janet will probably have me on as panelist on her show, The Shit Show, which I do recommend. I just put the Discord link in there for Gatekeepers, and I'm going to grab the Discord link for Janet's channel because she's pretty much turned into family now. And like the other day, the wife and her were chatting on the phone. I didn't realize who was texting the wife, and I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, me and Janet talking." Okay. So that's
You're
like,
brave man.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, Requiem for Vampire was terrible in Flady's opinion, and I haven't liked Vampire since second edition.
Dark Ages is the only one I really enjoy playing.
I like playing Dark Ages, but I like Masquerade.
I really miss Mike Miller's table. That little guy from Peoria has a great table. And you guys know Mike Miller. If you've ever been running around Peoria and you see a young midget, and looks like a young man midget, but he's like Brad Williams' dad, is what he looks like. If he answers to Mike Miller, you want to set up a game with him. He's really good with D10 systems. Anyway, Saturday at about 12:30, I'm going to be assembling the crew so we can adventure forth. And hopefully by 2:30 in the afternoon, I've gone live. But I'm setting it up for 12:30 we go live, and I hope to God they actually do that. Now, this weekend's a little different than usual because Chris and Amanda are back in town, which means Chris is going to be helping me fix up a few things around the apartment for a moment while he gets himself settled and his 4 dogs. And then we might not see him at the table for a little bit, but we're going to be having his input. And he's going to be moving into the area. Thank God for... Anyway, so that And once that gets taken care of Saturday, I'm looking at about a 9-hour game day for that. I'm looking forward to that session. Sunday, I'll be streaming with Machini, and then Monday night, Monday, working with Janet on The Girl, a Guy, and a Movie, and we will be discussing the 1979 classic, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. So if any of you like Rob Lowe and Christy McNichol, that's a particular, Christy McNichol movie. So we're going to be discussing that. And that's what I have, Mr. Garrett.
All right. So that's pretty much all we have for tonight, everybody. We definitely want to thank you all for joining us and taking a little bit of your time to listen to us talk about things that we love. Thank you much. And you guys and gals all have a great night.
Hey, thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Night.
We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel.